Right, greetings all, hope this finds you well as always. It's now time for the latest update from the machine shop, this time actually at Gromont, where we're up to and what we're on with. Right, the first thing we're going to have a quick look at is a little project Barry's on with, and I will be honest, I'm watching this project with very great interest. What we have here, you may have seen a couple of weeks ago, we had the cylinder line boring gear out doing 8 or 60 cylinders, and a problem was discovered, which is that this gear wheel here, this is the main drive gear, it's driven through that worm gear you see over there, and then it drives onto this, which in turn then drives the main boring shaft. This gear has definitely seen better days. You don't need to be an expert on gear teeth forms to realise that that step you can see in the side of the tooth there really shouldn't be there. This is a lot of years of wear and only being running one direction has just led to this gear being eroded away to practically nothing. And so what Barry's doing is he's reconditioning it. Now, the reconditioning is actually turning into a slightly more entertaining job than expected, because to save on material, what Barry's done is he's got the old gear here, and as you can see, he's partially machined the teeth off it. And then behind it is a ring of cast iron here. This in turn is then going to yield a, well, not quite a new gear, but it's going to yield a ring which we fitted onto the old gear and will then have new teeth cut in it, so it'll work very, very well. This project looks ridiculously simple, and trust me, in those 2 minutes, in the 2 minutes I've spent talking about it, I've given a very unfair, very short summary of an awful lot of very hard work that Barry's put into this. From setting it up to how he's going to set it up to cut the gear and divide it, making the cutters to do that, etc, etc. It's a really quite interesting little project he's got on, and I will be honest, gear cutting is something I've never done much of, so I'm watching this with very great interest to see how he gets on. So hopefully I'll be able to bring you more updates as he gets further on with this, and we'll be able to hopefully watch it in progress. So there we are, that's the first bit. Right, quick job that's come in. We've got the, valve for the vacuum brake ejector off the 9F in. Now what's happened is that in the body here, there's two valve seats that shut off the steam supply to the large and small ejectors. One of those seats have got quite badly steam cut. So what the requirement is can we recut it? So the short answer is yes, of course we can. Strip the body down completely, and it's now on the Fritz mill, bolted to the angle plate. As you can see, we've got a very large, it's actually 1.3" slot drill in the chuck. I'm going for this because we need to plunge it. If I start milling forwards backwards, I'll be leaving ridges in the seat, and then by very gently plunging it, we've got a nice new recut clean seat. There's a little bit still at, well, it's about there. You should just be able to see it. So the Morning Needle Gun Concerto started as well. But apart from that, that seems to have cleaned up pretty nicely. The other seat is okay. It doesn't need any work. It was just this one. It had about 4 or 5 big cuts in it. That seems to have cleaned up okay. So I'm happy. Right, another job that's been finished are these temporary stays for Heartland that I showed a while ago. I've waved a camera at on and off. Well, Brian's got the first batch of them finished, so they are all now ready to go off and be used. So we've got 20 of the short ones, 10 of the long ones, and they're all ready to go off to the boiler shop to be used for holding plates in alignment in Heartland's firebox when they're all welded together. So there we are, that's another job done and dusted. Right, another quick job that's come in is we need 2 fittings for 825. They're replacement top fittings for the left and right on gauge frames. Now this is a bit where I will admit I've actually cocked up slightly. These parts were actually requested about 3 months ago, and I genuinely forgot all about them until yesterday when somebody came in and quite reasonably asked where they were. So there's the ones we're replacing. The reason we're replacing these is the threads are worn beyond acceptable tolerances, so there's one bung is going to come out of that billet there. The ends slightly over length because these are made of scrap washout plugs, and a washout plug has a tapered thread on it. I need to get a certain outsized diameter so that I can then mill that hexagon head from it. And so I've had to go so far down machining off the tapered thread to get the correct diameter. So yes, there is a bit of excess on the end, but we'll just trim it off. We'll also part off the unwanted square head here, and so that can go back into the bits box we use to make something else. So that's one, and the blank for the other one is there. So there, actually, yeah, that's the right way up. So we've got the chunk the hexagon will come out of, and then we've also got the stub that that threaded end will come out of. So the next job I need to do is sling this in the chuck the other way around, turn down the square head, and machine the stub for that other threaded portion. Okay, so that's just another quick job we're on with. Right, so the next step's to put the hexagons on. There's one fitting done, and there's the other one. So those can now go back into the little Myford and be tidied up. In the case of this one, it can have this face here cleaned up. We've parted off the excess, and they can also be threaded, and then they're good to go. So there we are, it's getting on. And there we are, finished and ready to go. Hexagons added, threads added, little details like this dished relief in the top of this one. I assume it's to clear the balls, that's as a restrictor added. And then this is how threads put on both ends. It's also the through hole drilled. This connection, I understand, goes onto the pressure gauge, but I'm not absolutely sure. I'm not that familiar with the S15s. And then this was just a plain blank for this one's at the left hand, that one's at the right hand. So there we are. That's another job done, dusted, and ready to go. And then another job we're on with. This is the bogie axle boxes of 44806. This is the third one, to be precise. There's one more to do after this one. That one actually needs a bit of rectification. Unfortunately, I made a boo-boo when I was machining it. It wasn't quite square on the table. And so when I finished machining one side, I realised that there wasn't quite as much white metal at the top as there was at the bottom, and it should be parallel. So that was my screw up. So Sean's puddling a bit more white metal into this one, the other one, to rectify my cock up, and then this one has been finished while that's going on and is now ready to go. The other two were parked on the floor there up until earlier in the week, and then a gang of Sean's lads came along, quickly worked them out, and they've taken them through into here. Well, they're now sat on an axle. So there you go, they've been fitted and are now ready to go back under the bogie. The only other jobs to do is the bogie needs 2 spring hanger bolts threading, and then that's ready to be remachined. So that's what that job's up to, folks. So there we are. That's another job that's coming together very nicely. So anyway, folks, hope you found it interesting, educational, and informative as always. Now take care, and I'll see you around.